I found you. A story of love and rediscovery. Mia had always been a woman of routine. She lived in a quiet town where life felt predictable, where the rain often washed the streets clean, leaving a mist that matched the solitude she'd grown used to. It had been a long time since she believed in love, if she ever really had. Love felt like a fleeting shadow to her, something that other people spoke about but never truly existed in the way they described. She told herself she was okay with it, but there was always that whisper of loneliness that followed her home, keeping her awake at night. One evening, during a particularly fierce downpour, she decided to take a walk. She let the rain soak through her clothes, feeling the chill creep through her, matching the sadness she carried in her heart. She walked past the old bookstore she used to visit when she was a kid, a place she hadn't set foot in for years. Without thinking too much about it, she ducked inside, hoping for a momentary escape from the rain. The bell above the door chimed, and she shivered slightly, pushing her wet hair out of her face. And that's when she saw her, Evelyn. Evelyn was standing by the poetry section, flipping through a worn-out book, seemingly lost in her own world. Her presence seemed to illuminate the dim room, her curly hair glowing like a halo against the dusty shelves. Mia recognized her instantly, even though they hadn't spoken since high school. Back then they were just friends, close but never quite brave enough to admit that what they felt for each other was something more. Life had pulled them in different directions, but seeing Evelyn now, Mia felt like the years had melted away. Evelyn glanced up, her eyes widening with surprise, then curving into a smile that felt like a balm to Mia's weary heart. "Mia? Is that really you?" Evelyn's voice was warm, like she was genuinely happy to see her. Mia smiled back, her heart fluttering with a strange, unexpected joy. "Yeah, it's me. Just trying to escape the rain, I guess." They spent hours talking in the back corner of the bookstore, the rain outside becoming background music to their conversation. They shared stories about their lives, their struggles, and the dreams that hadn't quite come true. It felt like peeling away layers of time, like unearthing a part of herself that Mia had buried for years. As they spoke, Mia couldn't help but notice how Evelyn's eyes sparkled when she laughed, how her voice seemed to wrap around her like a comforting blanket. And when Evelyn reached out to tuck a loose strand of hair behind Mia's ear, Mia felt something shift inside her, something she thought she'd long forgotten. She realized that the ache she'd carried for so long was not about the loneliness of being alone, but the loneliness of not having her. They met again the next day and the next until meeting became a habit, and then a ritual and finally a need. They spent rainy afternoons wandering through town, sometimes sitting in silence, just enjoying the presence of each other. With each meeting, Mia's fear of love began to dissolve, replaced by something softer, something warm that blossomed in her chest whenever she looked at Evelyn. One summer evening, as the sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a golden light over the river, they sat on the bank, their shoulders touching. Evelyn turned to Mia, her expression suddenly serious. "You know, there was a time when I thought I'd never find this feeling. It's like finding the home you never knew you'd lost," Evelyn said softly. Mia's throat tightened, but she reached out and took Evelyn's hand, their fingers interlocking. "I know what you mean," she whispered. "I thought love wasn't real, or at least not for me. But with you, I feel like I can believe in it again." Evelyn leaned her head against Mia's shoulder, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm so glad we found each other again." Mia kissed her on the forehead, feeling like she'd finally found her place. For the first time in forever, she wasn't afraid of what was to come. She knew there would be challenges. They were two people with scars and histories after all. But she felt ready to face them, as long as it meant facing them together. As the weeks turned into months, they faced their share of storms. They argued, stumbled, and struggled with the past that had shaped them. But every time they found their way back to each other. They were learning how to love, how to stay, and how to be brave enough to build a life together. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. One autumn afternoon, Mia took Evelyn to the old bridge that crossed over the river, the same place where they had shared their hearts months ago. The leaves had turned shades of gold and red, and the air carried a gentle chill. Mia turned to Evelyn, holding her hands tightly. "I don't know where life will take us, or how many storms we'll have to face. But I know that I choose you, Evelyn. I choose us." Evelyn's eyes filled with tears, and she pulled Mia into a tight embrace. "I choose you too, Mia. And I'll keep choosing you every day." They kissed, and as the sun dipped behind the trees, Mia knew she had finally found her home. Not in a place, but in a person who saw her completely and loved her just the same. They walked back hand in hand, ready to face whatever came their way, knowing that they had already found the most important thing, each other. As the months passed, Mia and Evelyn's relationship grew deeper, like roots sinking into the earth, steady and sure. They found joy in the simple things. Saturday mornings spent at the farmer's market, late-night drives with the windows down and music blasting, and lazy Sundays reading books together on the couch. Evelyn's small apartment became their haven, a space where they could share their hopes and fears without judgment. The outside world seemed to fade away when they were together. Mia had always lived in a state of anxious restlessness, but with Evelyn, she felt a kind of peace she hadn't thought possible. She found herself dreaming of a future, one that included Evelyn's laughter in the mornings, the way she sang off-key to their favorite songs, and the soft warmth of her hand in Mia's as they strolled through the town. It was a new feeling, this desire for permanence, and it scared her as much as it thrilled her. One winter's evening, they found themselves back at the old bookstore where they'd reconnected months ago. Snow was starting to fall, the air crisp and cold, turning their breath into soft white puffs. Inside, the warmth of the little shop wrapped around them, the scent of old books mingling with the spicy aroma of cinnamon candles. They wandered through the shelves, fingers brushing over spines, sharing their thoughts on stories they'd loved. It felt like coming full circle, back to where they'd found each other again. Evelyn picked up a book, an old leather-bound journal that was hidden among the novels. She flipped through its empty pages and looked up at Mia with a smile. "Maybe we could write our own story in here. Something just for us," she suggested, her voice gentle, almost shy. Mia's heart swelled at the thought. She took the journal from Evelyn's hands and turned it over, thinking about how far they'd come since that rainy night. It was true. There was so much between them now that was worth putting down in words. Memories of stolen kisses, quiet conversations, and laughter that echoed in the stillness of night. But there was also the promise of everything yet to come. "I'd like that," Mia replied, her voice catching. "Let's start our story right here and keep adding to it." They bought the journal, and over time, it became a keepsake of their journey. On quiet evenings, they would add a page, sometimes writing a poem or a memory. Sometimes it was just a note about how much they meant to each other. It became a love letter in progress, one that documented the life they were building together. As winter melted into spring, Mia knew she was ready for the next step. She had never been one for grand gestures, but she felt that this deserved something special. She remembered a place from her childhood, a hidden cove near the lake that she had once thought of as her secret sanctuary. It was a spot where the water met the sky, framed by tall pines, and in the spring wildflowers bloomed along the shore. She brought Evelyn there one evening, under the guise of a simple picnic. They spread out a blanket by the water's edge, sharing dinner as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. They laughed about the past and daydreamed about the future. Mia could feel her nerves fluttering, but she focused on the love that filled her heart, the certainty that this was right. As twilight settled over them, Mia took Evelyn's hands in hers, steadying herself. She could feel the gentle pulse of Evelyn's heartbeat through her palms. "Evelyn," she began, her voice soft but unwavering, "you are the best thing that ever happened to me. You make me believe in love, in second chances, in things I never thought were possible. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but I know that I want to face it with you. Every single day." Evelyn's eyes glistened with unshed tears as Mia reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, simple ring. It wasn't fancy, but it sparkled in the moonlight, a promise as pure as the love they shared. "Will you keep writing this story with me?" Mia asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. "Will you be my forever?" Evelyn's breath hitched, and she squeezed Mia's hands, her smile breaking through the tears. "Yes, Mia. Yes, 1,000 times yes." They kissed under the canopy of stars, and in that moment, Mia felt like everything had fallen into place. It wasn't just about finding love. It was about finding a home, a sense of belonging that she'd never known she could have. In the months that followed, they moved in together, turning Evelyn's small apartment into a space that was truly theirs. They painted the walls together, argued playfully over furniture, and filled every corner with mementos of their life together. There were still challenges. They bickered over little things, faced tough days when old insecurities resurfaced, but through it all, they stayed committed to the promise they had made. They kept adding to their journal, filling it with the big moments and the small, the messy days and the perfect ones. One day they took a photo together, both of them sitting on the steps of their apartment, the old journal between them, and the joy of their love shining in their smiles. They framed the photo and hung it on their bedroom wall, right next to a poem Evelyn had written in the journal. "We found each other in the rain, in the quiet spaces, in the corners of our hearts that we thought would always be empty. We found a love that is imperfect, but it's ours. And every day I choose you again and again and again." As they built their life together, Mia knew that their story was just beginning. There would be new chapters to write, filled with laughter and tears, with dreams yet to be realized. But she was no longer afraid of what the future held. She had found the one person who made her believe in the beauty of it all. She had found Evelyn, and in doing so, she had found herself. And so, hand in hand, they walked forward, ready to embrace whatever came their way, knowing that together, they could weather any storm. They had found each other, and that was enough. It was everything.